Hello, party people. Today I went to visit the Getty Center. Let me see. How are your days going? Commands. Just setting up some stream stuff. They not like us. They not like us. Alright, well, today was Juneteenth. So, to start off with, it's a. Hi, Carolina! I'm doing really good. Had a really nice museum day today, which I'm gonna talk about soon. But it's Juneteenth. It's always important to remember the significance of these days, especially in America, where the divide is becoming more extreme. And I said this on Instagram today as well. But if I just to start off with, say something real quick about, you know, if you are in a position of privilege, right, and you want to, from a position of privilege, help people. So, for example, the primary example is like if suppose I'm a white person, and I want to help solve things like racism, right? Then I can't really expect to work on it while being just celebrated about it, because why? I happen to be one individual, and even if I didn't do anything related to racism myself, my heritage comes from it, and then it's important to recognize that when people criticize my whiteness, again, example, I'm not white, obviously, it's important to recognize that they are referring to the lineage and the presentation of it, right? So if you are aware of the systemic privileges that you have been getting from your life and you have been benefiting from, and you want to make it more even, of course it's really important to donate to those causes and help the people who were the target of unfortunate situations because of racism and systemic inequalities, but expect to get a lot of backlash and flack for it, and use those as a learning opportunity, and then your efforts, I think, will really benefit from that simple mindset shift. Okay, with that said, today I visited the Los Angeles Getty Center, which is a museum, and I visited the Getty Center for one purpose in particular today, and it is to go to the Getty Museum, the Camille Claudel exhibit. And I'm gonna be going back and forth a little bit because I have some pictures of my wife that I don't want to necessarily present. So this is the exhibition that I went to today. Camille Claudel. She is a French sculpture person, and actually, let me record this and let's get started here. Hey everyone! Today is Juneteenth, a federal holiday in the United States. So today I went to the Getty Center in Los Angeles to see this exhibition of Camille Claudel. She is a French sculpture artist, and here's me posing in front of the big sign. But basically, the significance of Camille Claudel is she was primarily known as this person who is assistant or kind of partner of the very important another sculpture, Rodin, right? Like the thinking man, that sculpture. Uh, History has always sort of overshadowed Camille Claudel as this person who's kind of like secondary or like accessory to the Rodin, but the important thing is now she is being recognized for her contributions to the art world and being a really, really great sculptor of her own right, independent from other artists who follow the same kind of medium. So let's walk through the exhibition experience today. Yay! Very sunny day today. It's always a little windy because the Getty Center is up in a mountain. But took the tram there. What a peaceful picture, right? My wife took all these photos. And yeah, Camille Claudel, you walk up to the second floor to start the exhibition. And when you go up to the second floor, you get this really nice view of Los Angeles. Very nice. And there's this garden that's we had a chance to go down and walk through this garden. Very peaceful. Yeah, but yeah. Also, let's talk about it after this. But here is Camille Claudel, very rare and admirable artist indeed. So the first thing that really stood out to me is her works feature a lot of facial expressions, and it does a very good job of capturing the very transparent looks at ordinary life. So this is her little brother, Paul. And these are a little less on the details, but you can see how the expressions aren't these like glamorous artistic ones, but they're very real, right? And look at the anatomy on this work, right? Like all the back muscles and look at this deltoid and the bicep and the triceps. It's crazy. And some of these are terracotta, some of these are bronze, and some of these are plaster. But man, marble, if you think about it, it's all chisel and hammer, right? And to achieve this kind of realistic, yeah, it's just kind of, it's just sounds insane to me. This is one of her very famous works called The Waltz. And as you can see from this work, her work also features this lot of dynamic lines. So when you look at sculptures, they're typically very grandiose and has this like really well composed in terms of balance, right? But she uses these very drastic asymmetrical lines, and the expressions of these fabrics is just kind of detailed to a crazy degree. And but this isn't really the primary point I wanted to make. But oh yeah, and this also you can see, right? This little this portion to the right was also isolated as a sculpture of its own, so you can see that's separated by itself. This is I think the three phases. Basically, the old version of mankind is leading the middle-aged version of mankind away from the youth. So those are some of the big themes at play here. Yeah, and this is the little child. Another one of her very famous works. This is a dog gnawing on a bone. But what I really found interesting from this kind of busts of figures, the familiar faces, is its remarkable similarity to Norman Rockwell. So Norman Rockwell is like an artist with a lot of art from the 1940s, 50s, and the 60s, right? And when you look at these paintings by Rockwell, you get to see these really candid and ordinary and playful expressions of the kind of the ordinary man in the United States at these times, right? But Claudel was in the 1800s and the very early 1900s, so it's completely kind of a different time era. But I think it's so crazy how she's able to sort of capture that style, and I guess some types of art are truly timeless and can resonate across different generations. But going back to some more art, this is the same dog gnawing on a bone, and yeah, these are some other interesting mediums. This is bronze onyx. It's like a stone. It's like a slab of stone that's different from marble. As you can see, this one's marble, and apparently this one is influenced by Japanese art. And you can see that behind here there's this little electrical thing, and you will see why that is in a second. Another one that shows off a lot of the good like anatomy details and the fabric work. It's just kind of insanely detailed. And this is the frontal view without the wooden piece. And this is the Sleeping Dreamer, and apparently this one was commissioned by a lot of people and gifted to a lot of people, because this ordinary image of a person reclining next to a fireplace and just kind of like sleeping, dozing off, gives a kind of a idyllic, peaceful, yeah, fireside dream, right? And aura. And here is the cool part. It has a little room for this LED or like a light bulb in the back, so that it lights up and it gives you the kind of that peaceful feeling of sitting by a fire place. So cast by Eugene Blot, Blot or Blot because it's French, recalled his success selling versions of Fireside Dream by placing a small red light bulb behind the logs. The fire's electric glow and the reflections produced on the bronze figure heightened the emotional intensity of this intimate and melancholy scene. Blow and Claudel understood the commercial appeal of such a nightlight. So yeah, this was kind of like a nightlight, and this had some commercial success as well as some artistic success as well. Artistic acclaim, should I say. And this was the flute player. My wife made a comment about how the hand was just kind of oversized, and she noticed how that was a little bit funky. To be completely honest, I didn't even notice until she pointed it out, so guess why I'm not an artist, but she is. Claudel imbued this figure, one of her favorite compositions, with joyful energy. The musician's whole body, from the toes to the lips, along with the curve of the spine to the elbows and fingers, is poised with tension, entirely focused on her playing. The swirling veil evokes the light vibration of music. So, with that, when you can see, look at this curvature and how the detail is so... the legs are kind of like close together, right? They're not like loosey-goosey like this. It's like this really focused and intense playing. And you can see from the face that it's like a joyful expression of playing instead of playing this like requiem of some sorts. This is the other timeless kind of a thing I wanted to talk about. So, this is Perseus fighting with the Gorgon's head, right? This is basically Medusa, which apparently the model for Medusa was her self-face. But anyway, you can see that when you just look at this, it's just like a traditional sculpture, right? But this you can see in other works as well. But going from the lower body, there's this transition from the human body to this kind of a fabric texture. And from this fabric texture, for this work in particular, there's a kind of a fishy quality to it, right? So, in other works, I've noticed that there are, this transitions from the lower body to the stone, and it's very seamless, that transition. But why this part caught a little bit of a particular interest to me is actually because of this. You see how the ab muscles go down to this and then this. But then notice this armish kind of a thing here. Right? That sort of appears out of nowhere. Moreover, uh, you can see that these are not just things that look like arms, but it's actually like arms. And they pop up out of nowhere from this stone, or like bronze, or like this platform. And what's also funny is that behind his Perseus's leg, there's like a third leg that actually looks like the legit leg. Let me see if I took a photo of that. I did. This one. So you see this kneeling foot and this kneeling foot, but these are just part of the stone, and it has nothing to do with the actual two legs that are standing, that Perseus is standing on, right? So why this is interesting to me is this really resembles AI art, right? And you know that recently a lot of generated arts featured these kind of weird details where it looks like a fever dream. And AI has a really big problem with generating fingers, right? Because it tends to generate objects where on surfaces that it feels like should be there. So when you just give the AI a fist, it doesn't know that there needs to be like five. And it doesn't know that a thumb is supposed to look different from all the other fingers. And it doesn't know that there needs to be some sort of a proportional length across people's fingers, right? But when you look at AI generated hands, like fingers are almost always kind of like disfigured, right? So let me see if I can find an example of that. AI fingers. Yeah. So this is sort of the thing that happens with AI, right? Because it just looks at things that feels like it should be there, but it has nothing to do with the actual reality of things being there. So this is another really creepy example. And so for Camille Claudel to have done this kind of really generative AI work in real life in a sculpture in the early 1900s was it was very mind-blowing to me, and really showed how forward-thinking some people can be. And in that sense, it's sort of like predicting the future, right? I thought that was like just immensely cool. Another thing I noticed at the Getty today was this garden next to like this grass area next to the garden. When you look at it from the top and you just focus on this section, this looks a lot like the French Impressionist paintings of picnics. So let me see if I can find an example for that. Yeah, it's very reminiscent of these types of works, right? Especially like the Seurat's kind of work, um, and so again, if you see this, right, like art imitates life. I thought that was really really cool. Um, so that was me nerding out a little bit about art, and yeah. After that, I bought two books at the Getty Center. So you can see this is my little book. One book I bought was this is the Getty Center, and they happen to sell the book by J. Paul Getty, How to Be Rich. And man, if he has enough money to create this like multi-building museum in the heart of Los Angeles, I definitely have a thing or two to learn from him, right? So I bought that book, and another book I bought like a essay. It's about body parts. Let me actually show you because it's a little bit interesting. Before that, let me pause the recording so that I don't needlessly take people's time. And we're back. So this is the book I was talking about, J. Paul Getty, How to Be Rich, and the other book is Linda Nochlin on the body. So this is an essay about from an art historian about how fragmented, mutilated, and fetishized representation of the human body came to constitute a distinctively modern view of the world. So the essay itself sounds interesting, but what I also liked is that this book is not that thick, and it's also not that big, right? And it's like a really well-made book with lots of drawings to illustrate points. And I was like, huh, maybe my books could be like this. And so I wanted to have like a reference for uh, my potential future book that comes in this kind of a format, because I think it would be neat to have my publications kind of in this way. So, um, while I was reading, we decided to stop at the garden to get a quick drink and of some beverages, and I would do some reading. So, my wife had some green tea, which gave her a little bit of a upset stomach later on, like a heartburn. But anyway, she did some figure drawings today. Her favorite figure drawing from today was this really nice composition, very well balanced. This is me reading the book. When I read books, I have this tendency to kind of like do this. So I guess I was doing that. So my wife did a drawing of that, and then here are some of the other figure drawings that my wife did for the patrons of the museum. All right, well, that is my date at the Getty, and the next time you visit Los Angeles, I think the Getty Center is a wonderful visit, especially also the Getty Villa. Getty Center, I think, is free to go as long as you make a reservation. So next time you're in Los Angeles, check it out. All right, so that was the recording. So that was what I did today. Pretty fun, right? That was what I did today. Yeah, and I had a little bottle of wine. It was a rosé wine, but it ended up getting me pretty drunk. So I was a little tipsy throughout the afternoon. This is the map of the Getty. Super big. It's got multiple pavilions. And I think I visited the villa 2 years ago. Villa is pretty cool too. A lot of also I'm not a really sculpture kind of guy. I didn't really see the point behind it. I just went today because my wife was interested in it. But then near the end, it showed, and before that, the Camille Claudel's works are not that big. Or if it is big, the ones that were on display today weren't that big. But why I'm mentioning this is at the end there was kind of a video showcasing the proper museum in France that had all of pretty much the majority of Claudel's work. And when I saw the video for that, I think big artworks have this kind of presence of filling in the entire room, right? And of course, you know what Starry Starry Night looks like. And you know what these like big, really famous paintings in the world look like. But when you go see it actually in a museum, like there are some works that the sheer presence of it just kind of warps the room. And just like that, I think sculptures, they have this sense of presence, even though they're just materials, even though they're just like marble stones, even though they're just like bronze, they're just like things, right? But when they're in a certain way, it commands this kind of aura to it, and I thought that was super interesting to witness today because yeah, you can look at pictures all you want for these things, but it hits very differently when you actually go into a room full of these like big things. So I thought that was very, very interesting. Now, I had a viewer question today, which I answered on Discord, but also wanted to take a video here as well. By the way, I have a Discord channel where everybody is welcome to ask me questions and chat about generally everything. And I also give you notifications for when I go live on stream like this, because I don't have a regular streaming schedule. So if you want to follow along with me whenever I stream, you can ask me how to get into my stream notification alerts. So now that I mentioned it, let's talk about today's topic at hand. I'm just pulling up the question real quick. Today I had a viewer request question, and let's read the question first. I don't feel the need to take care of my parents. I'm the only child, which my parents raised me and treated me well. However, sometimes they take advantage of the fact that we have taken care of you so much to make me feel guilty for not listening to them. For me, taking care of parents becomes something like a debt to pay, more than like responsibility. I don't want to live for others. My point of live is not just like fulfilling a debt. So what do I do in this case? Am I wrong to think this way? So that's the question at hand here. And to give you the answer first, you don't really owe your life to anybody, right? But there's an important nuance here. And let me get up my paintboard to explain this a little bit further. Not this one. Paint. Okay. When you are a fully grown adult, being an independent entity, right? You and other people, I'll call this person A and this person B, are free to make individual life choices, right? So you can want to do this, you can want to do that, you can want to do this. A can want to do this, A can want to do this, A can want to do this, B can want to do this, B can want to do this, B can want to do this. These are all fine. Now, where it gets a little bit tricky is I can, with my free will, choose to do something that involves other people. So, if I decide to go surfing tomorrow, right? That's totally up to me. And that's my free will. If I want to eat some tacos tomorrow, that's totally up to me. If I want everybody in the world to subscribe to my YouTube channel tomorrow, I'm free to want that, right? If I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and join my email list and come to my Discord channel and buy all these things from me, I can want that. I'm exercising my free will. But just because I want that doesn't mean that people will do it, right? So, when I tell you, hey, subscribe to my YouTube channel, I want you to do it. I really want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. But there's nothing stopping you from not doing it. And so you can say, okay, I will, but then you just don't have to do it, right? And now the more I get upset about that, the more I put expectations of, but, hey, I told you to. The more upset I get about that, the more it's my loss, right? It's my loss because I can buy a lottery ticket. There's nothing there's nothing stopping me from wanting to hit the big 1 or 10 million jackpot, right? There's nothing that stops me from wanting this, but the more I get upset about not winning jackpot, then the more miserable I make myself. It's just a kind of a silly thing to do. But it doesn't mean that I am prohibited from doing that. And in fact, that's what gamblers sort of do, right? Especially when you're addicted to gambling. You have horse 1, you have horse 2, you have horse 3, and in this racetrack, you really want horse 2 to win, but horse 2 doesn't have to win. And that can really upset you, right? So, your happiness will depend on this horse race. And these are things that actually happen in real life. So, the important thing to note here about this specific context is, okay, so you have your life that's yours to live, okay? So your parents are also mom and dad. They're fully grown adult people. So it is their choice to invest in you. It is their choice to raise you very well. Because they could totally not do that, right? There are lots of parents in this world who just give birth but then don't really take full responsibility. There are a lot of parents who separate shortly after giving birth. Also, there are parents who pass away. Also, there are wars that split families apart. So there are all these things, and it's totally possible for you and your parents to not have this version of life that you have today. And so, this was a fully adult choice made by your mom and your dad to invest and love and take care in raising you. But if they also expect, right, this reciprocation, if they also expect this return on their investment, right? Again, nothing stopping them from doing that. And that is totally okay. It's not like they shouldn't, right? It's their life. They can do whatever they want. But the more they rely their happiness on you fulfilling this request, the more their life becomes miserable. And your life is you are responsible for your life, like you mentioned in your original question. You don't really owe anybody anything. But there's this really one important piece that we are missing here. You have this dilemma today because you are an adult today. And in order for you to be an adult, it means you got taken care of. Because your mom and dad fed you at every moment when they didn't have to. You might be arguing, but they have to. It's like child endangerment. But they can totally choose to go to jail, right? They gave you the education you needed in order to communicate with other people and them. And so you can express what you are feeling and thinking. They gave you the opportunity to be inside society. They give you the clothing that you wear. They gave you an opportunity to be an equal to them in terms of an adult human being. This is something that you received out of their goodwill. And for that, it makes sense to be deeply grateful for their love, right? So, while living your life the way you want to is your freedom, I argue that the base relationship that you have to have with your parents as a foreground, as before anything else, is gratitude. Because you're able to contemplate this exact thing precisely because they gave you a chance at life, and that chance at life was not free. It is something that they went out of their way to do, right? But again, just because they did that and you are grateful doesn't mean you owe them the rest of your life. You can be grateful at something and still say no. So, I am grateful for every person who watches my YouTube channel, right? Because why? They don't have to. They don't have to spend time with me. They don't have to watch these videos. But you are kind enough to watch these videos and give me really good feedback. And that really encourages me, right? Okay, so I am grateful to you. But at the same time, if you are like, hey Billy, I need $1,000 to, I don't know, buy a new car. I don't really owe you that, right? And you can be disappointed at that too, because why? There's nothing stopping you from believing, this guy's so ungrateful. I gave him his video a like, and he won't give me $1,000? What an ungrateful dick. There's nothing stopping you from believing that, right? So, what I'm saying is, you can totally be grateful for someone, for something that they did, and not have to comply, not be obligated to everything that they want to do, right? And that's what makes relationships very genuine, because you know that every party of the relationship is participating in it willingly. They're not being forced to, right? So, you know, like you have a play that your friend is there, and then you're all going to celebrate your friend's play, and then the friend says, you guys are just here because you feel bad for me. Now, that just kind of kills all the magic, right? Because you were there voluntarily, but now when you put like this transaction on top of it, it just kills the vibe. So, what I'm saying is, it's important to recognize the separation between these two. I thank you, but at the same time, you don't owe, I don't owe my life to you. And with that, how to contextualize it in terms of parenting, it's important for you to be grateful towards your parents, but at the same time, you don't owe your life to them. So, that is what I think about parents and relationships with parents after you have reached your adulthood. Of course, is it nice if you all can get along? Yeah, it's really nice, right? But when push comes to shove, are you going to live your life for your parents? So, are you going to be able to live your life only after your parents die? That's sort of a really sad way to think about things, right? And especially if you're a parent, that's something to reflect on, right? Do I want my child to be their own person only after I die, because I won't be there to harass them about anything like, oh, you should do this, you should do that? So, being in charge of yourself and being a happy child. In the end, if I listen to my mom and dad but I'm miserable, versus I'm my own man, I don't listen to my mom and dad for shits and giggles, but I have the time of my life. What makes my parents feel better in the long run? It's my happiness, right? So I want you to keep that in mind. Okay, so that is, in general, how I think about parenting situations. There's also another thing that I'm thinking about shooting a video on, and that has to do with but before I say that, an important thing that I sort of failed to mention in the previous video is that in general, it's good to practice letting other people be. And I think this is also explained as don't take things personally. When you just let other people be, it just makes your life a lot more peaceful. And I would take a peaceful day any time over a stressful day. So, uh, I, for example, a lot of couples fight because of the toilet seats, right? Men are like, why don't you just leave the door? Why don't you pull it down every time you pee? And then the other argument is that why don't you pull it up like every time? Like, am I getting that correctly? But you know what I'm saying, right? Like, why don't you pull the toilet seat down versus why don't you pull the toilet seat up? Kind of an argument. So the important thing there is like it's such a trivial thing, but like people always want to win, right? They always want to concede the other party. But it's just so much better to just let the other person be. And when it takes two to escalate situations. So, suppose I am a wife and my husband always leaves the toilet seat up. When I let him be and I just am like, okay, but I mean, I wish this wasn't the case, but um, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna communicate that I ideally like this to be down, but it's a lifelong habit, and like it's how his body works. So I'm fine with pulling it down. It's again like not a big deal. It's not a matter of like life and death. And if I'm a husband and my wife is angry that because of toilet seats, then again I could have the same argument. Like, I'm gonna let her be. Yeah, because why should she, right? Like why should she have to change because of me? Because if I don't want to change my way this much, she probably feels the same way, right? And so if neither of us concede and if neither of us let each other be, then of course the situation is gonna escalate. So, um, letting other people be, whether it be your spouse, whether it be your parents, whether it be your coworkers, whether it be people online, just letting people be, unless it's actually causing damages, uh, is a generally good practice to have, which invites the next question, which is what I was going to talk about. What if it actually harms people? And that is what I'm thinking of shooting a video on next. But how are you all doing this fine Wednesday? Can't believe it's Wednesday. Let me write a comment in a private group that I'm in real quick. Okay. Let me The reason why I'm thinking a little bit is because it's a bit of a nuanced topic, and I want to make sure I communicate things the right way. So, if I'm to do like a dry rehearsal here, right? In general, people can do whatever they want with their free will. But if it harms people, it's in general good to stop. Usually, these harmful cases are simple to identify, and Buddhism has a quick guide for you. And number one is physically harming other people. Number two is using your words to harm people, like cursing at them and lying them. Number three is stealing their property. And number four is being intoxicated and not having control of yourself and then causing like damage because of that. Number five is sexual harassment. And so these things are kind of clear to see that whatever you do, it's just bad. And now the more nuanced topic here is, what if you don't believe this is harmful and the other person perceives it as harmful? And let me make a matrix. Also, oh, there's a free form selection. Okay. Wait, that's not really free form. I'm learning a little bit about Paint. Well, that's not free form at all. But anyway, and how do I make the brush size? Okay, brush size can be a little bit bigger like this. Okay. And is there a way to make erasers a little bit bigger? Why are erasers so small? Maybe I can... No? Oh. No. Oh man, it scales proportionally. Oh! Oh, it was freeform. Okay. Sorry, MS Paint. I spoke too soon about you. So, you, them, you think this is good, they also think it's good, then we have good. You think this is bad, but they perceive it as good, then it's edge case. You think it's good, but they take it as bad, then edge case number two. You think it's bad, they think it's bad, then also good. Okay, so edge case number one is when you think, oh yeah. So your part. Oh. My mouse art skills are really improving. And for this, wait. Oh. Uh. This needs a little bit of distance. Okay, I think we're ready to record this one as well. Okay, press record. In general, it's a good idea and a good practice for your personal happiness to let other people be. And in fact, I would go as far as to say it's also a good idea to let yourself be. If you have a lot of judgments about you and how you should be doing some things differently in your life, if you just let yourself be, you'd be surprised at the amount of progress you can make when you just simply remove those expectations from yourself. Okay, but going back to other people, the more you let other people be, the more you have the less you have expectations about other people and how they should behave. And the less you have expectations, consequently, the less you'll be disappointed, right? So if I have expectations around 100 things, that means 100 possibilities to be disappointed about, right? So the math just checks out. So letting other people be is an exercise in letting go of expectations. But if I let other people be and they do harmful things, right? Then it becomes a little bit tricky. And if I let myself be and I end up harming other people, then what do I do? That's another question that can come up as a corollary, right? So, in order to help with that, there are some social guidelines around what is considered harmful, right? Although Buddhist principles say everything has no inherentness, we can all agree that socially there are some general behavior expectations when it comes to harm and keeping other people safe. Buddhism happens to have 5 guidelines. Number 1 is don't physically harm other people, don't beat them up, and needless to say, don't kill other people. Number 2, don't use your words to cause harm to other people. For example, lying to them outright for your own benefit, and cursing at them in order to express your anger and make them feel bad, or belittling them with your words. Number 3 is getting intoxicated and having no control over yourself and no consciousness of anything, and then just kind of being a tornado around you and wreaking havoc. Number 4 is sexual harassment. You can love another person, that's totally fine, but if your expressions of love, whether they be physical or like language oriented, if it makes the other person uncomfortable, don't do that. Number 5 is property. Don't take other people's property. Don't steal other people's property. Don't damage other people's property, because that will cause harm. And why these? It's because if these things happen to you, you would feel pretty bad, right? Of course, even if these things happen to you, can you relinquish your suffering? Yes, and that's the whole point of Buddhist practice, right? But even though we can try to live a suffering-free life for ourselves, it is not our job to enforce this onto other people, right? Because why? We let other people be. But now it comes to a case where the situation is a little bit nuanced. What if I don't consider this to be a little harmful, but other party does? And what if other party is not aware that they are being harmful to me, but to me, I feel like it is harming? So let's discuss that. I have this handy diagram, and let's explain it one by one. So, one possibility is you thinking everything is A-okay, right? But they also are okay. No harm was done here, so everyone is good. We're good to go. Yay. Second possibility is this. You think you crossed the line and you made another person feel uncomfortable, and you made this other person feel bad. At the same time, you may feel that way, but the other person might not feel like that at all. So how can this happen? This can happen when you are kind of overconscious about how other people perceive you. This is, in other words, called fawning. This is other words called people pleasing, right? When you have this kind of tendency to make everyone happy, then it is very possible that you feel very uncomfortable in these situations. But in the end, if you didn't go break the 5 rules, you didn't physically assault them, you didn't steal from them, you didn't curse at them, you didn't sexually harass them, you weren't like drunk and puking on their lawn or anything, and they are completely fine with whatever you did, then you have to exercise a little bit of letting that go for yourself. But there may be cases where you actually punched another person. There may be cases where you actually made fun of them with your words. And they might have a very thick skin and they might be okay with it, right? But even though they are okay, that is an action that deserves a bit of repentance, right? That is an action that deserves a little bit of self-reflection. Because if I'm comfortable doing it to one person, what stops me from doing it to other people? Because there's a saying in Korean, a needle thief eventually becomes a cow thief. Why? Because, oh wait, I can steal needles and I can have very little consequences? Well, I'm gonna start stealing thread. I'm gonna start stealing fabric. I'm gonna start stealing, I don't know, like clothing. I'm gonna start, and then you go up, all the way up to a cow, right? So, in the case where you feel like you actually broke the 5 rules, right? You need a little bit of self-reflection. But the other party is okay, then you don't really need to go out of your way, to sit down with the other party and make sure they understand how horrible you are feeling and blah blah blah. So that is how we deal with this matrix here. Now the other part is this: you may feel like you haven't really done anything wrong, but they might be hurt by something that you did. And this is because you don't know what other people carry in terms of their life's baggages. So, your friend may have a really tender kind of memory about family pet's loss, right? And then if you make any like really bad jokes about like, you know, how some dogs are so horrible and that they deserve to be in the pound or whatever, right? You make or that sounds a little like it goes against the principles, but like if you do something really benign and then they feel very hurt about it, right? It's important to give the other person a little bit of distance, because what tends to happen, we want to convince the other party that it's like, hey man, I didn't mean it that way, hey no, I think you're misunderstanding the situation a little bit. Okay, and that's fine. Other people just can live their life, right? So you said something, and it's not that they are mad at you because of it, even though they may be thinking that. What you said and what you did evokes a neural pattern inside of their brain, and they attribute it to this external stimulus that you happen to provide. So, should you feel guilty? No. This is the hard part for some people, right? Because, again, you want to make other people happy if you have those tendencies. When someone is upset with you, that can be kind of a distressing situation, no matter how much of a not threatening or not bad thing you did. So in these cases, it's important to respect the space that they need. Why? Because now that you are aware that your presence is bringing, some threats and activation to another person, with this knowledge, if you continue engaging, now you are kind of willingly and knowingly causing harm, right? So I can touch you like this on the back, give you a gentle pat, and when I don't know anything about you and I give this kind of a like small gesture of like, hey, I'm here for you, that's fine. But suppose they had a back surgery recently, and they're still recovering from the back surgery. oh my god, I'm so sorry. Now you know, right? So even with you knowing, if you insist on, come on, this isn't a bad thing, then you're actually harming them, right? So it's important to respect the other person's need for distance as they deal with what's in their head, instead of you trying to make things right. And again, this is an exercise in letting other people be. Now, there are cases where there are fights. So you do something, they do something, and then you both agree that we had a fight. And in these cases, it's important for you to recognize, and kind of the theme of repentance as again here, the things that you did to this other person. It's important to reflect on the things that you did, the rules that you broke. The impulse is to think, but this guy did it first. But that's not the point, right? No matter how provoked we are, the moment we join in the fight, we become a participant. And it's okay. We don't need to be saints like starting day one, right? But it is worthwhile to live a life that slowly becomes a little bit more and more about lessening the suffering you may inadvertently or advertently cause other people, right? So in pursuit of that, it's important, no matter how much they started it first, no matter how legitimate your reasons were for breaking the rules, it's important to recognize that harm done is harm done. And so, again, is it important for other people and you to come to a mutual agreement about who fucked up the most and who blah blah blah? That's not important, right? The important thing when there is a mutual kind of a harm is that you own up to the thing that you did. And afterwards, you get to make a choice. When you want to continue this relationship with this person, right? It's important to go back to this case here. So if they need a little bit of distance, regardless of how bad you feel afterwards and how much you repent, but you still want them in your life, it's important to respect their need for distance. But suppose after this is over, you have done your share of reflections and you feel like, you know what, I think this relationship has reached its end and I don't think we need to, I don't think I want to participate in it anymore. Then it's okay. You can end the relationship there. But the important thing about the first part is, no matter what the other party does, you and how you react and how you behave to another person is up to you. And that is the sense I want you to develop. How, when you interact with other people, how do you act? How did I act to this person? And how do I talk to people? How do I interact with people in general? Why do I do that? Those are the things that warrant some kind of inner reflection in order for you to have a more rich kind of a social network that can really enrich your life. So I hope this helps. Alrighty, so that is all the questions. That's all the topics that I wanted to discuss for today, and gonna upload it later today. And I will see you in the next stream. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday midweek, and see you next time.